account,
Start using.
I can reference city council's agenda packet.
Great.
That says the budget has been approved. So then you put in there and you say, we expect $65,000, right? So you put that into the budget annually, and the revenue is not the part, I just mean the expenditure part, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, and it's trust. So you put it into the trust fund, because then if we don't expend that money, it rolls back.
Yeah.
And next year we built it back in.
Not use it or lose it within 12 months.
No,
Yeah.
it goes right back into our cash account.
Does MC Gifts ever circle back to ask where it was spent or if it was spent?
That's in part of the application.
Okay.
So in the application, like we were talking about, like every year they're gonna ask us, what'd you do with your money?
Okay.
And what do you intend to do with the money you're going to get?
And that's where this year was kind of the
Yeah.
general description and everything.
So for our discussion, is it this last paragraph, but we figure out how to allocate?
I don't think we were,
percentage to youth programs or are we looking for specific?
I thought on this one, it would be a good idea for any kind of other projects or any other requests that have been on back burners or have not been brought forward in the times. I know Kim and I have talked, multiple times over time on collections and ebook collections, and I don't think we have to have a hard percentage, because that's not kind of the nature of this, because it's more about, we're going to try to see where we can, because I don't know how much that community room update is going to cost. But I will say, like, as I'm saying, like the screen is a better screen. And my goal on the community room is that we put in a plaque at some point. It's easier than, because not everybody does a message. And community groups work that room also. We have NCIP meetings in there. We have other group meetings that are in there. And I think if you fund in there and you put on something on the entryway that says this, renovations were made possible by a state grant, made by donors. That goes in there, and that's very reasonably priced for us to do, but we could do that right in the entryway. And that's the best way to do something like that. But I do feel that we need to get some quotes about the community room, because that affects just about all of us. And Melissa knows, Melissa's been doing movie days.
Put them on pause for now, because it's just not,
It's that bad.
it's that bad,
It's
yeah.
that bad. We had
The sound system is that bad?
I can't play a long feature film. It's just, it disturbs the audience.
The
pop.
Oh,
Mhm.
And so we ran into that with teen movie.
Yeah,
And so we've run into that with speakers. So there's something that's what I mean. It could be something small. It could be something very large. And that's why I don't want to get, but I feel like, to me, that's one of the things where I was thinking, like, bringing out to here, which is that I think that's a priority, is that we look at that as that's a priority for us to work on this funding. What are other priorities which might be on there? I
think that room we probably want to look at long-term, it being, like you've talked about in the past, used by other groups and used extended hours beyond library hours, if we can seal it off and make that something that is an old community room.
So part of this depends on, honestly, what NCIP does too. Because if we get all the funding from NCIP, then that was in there, for example, feeling off the room, and then we'd have discretionary to use it for other things, I think. But I agree with Bob also that you want the most visible stuff, and the most visible stuff is going to be in the community room, the amenities for people from all over the place. The other piece is like things like author talks. That brings in a lot of people. I think it brings in a wider audience.
storytelling ones too.
And and it increases potentially your donor base, which then brings in more money, which then allows you to do things.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing, that I'd say probably the majority, if not almost 100% of the adult programs take place in the community room. And, they're a guest speaker or a guest performer or something visual. And to show a movie, do you have to use the room speakers?
Yeah, you need the sound to be, it's not gonna be loud enough just from
Yeah.
A
So you
computer.
couldn't just,
Put your
because
laptop
I
up
remember when
there.
I was doing Medicare talks frequently,
Yeah.
I would plug speakers into my laptop and that's
Yeah.
where the sound came out.
You could do that with like, I mean, for discussions and brief, like, I mean, that could work, but for like a
But
movie.
a full room.
It's not gonna.
There's other pieces on there, which is also accessibility, which we have to think of.
Yes.
And that's why it's tied in. So the accessibility system is tied into all of the AV system, right? And so if we were to use just speakers on our laptop, we have to make sure that that's all accessible, right? But so we want to make sure that we've got that. And that's why we have to update that system.
Thinking about for next year, could we say when MC gives, when the community foundation asks, well, what do you intend to spend the money that you get on? And we have to fill out that form and give them a prediction, right? What if we spent enough of the money so we could show them how this money that came in this month or last month, how it really led to some very noticeable improvements? And then sort of massage that into saying, and we want to continue the successful use or the essential use or something like that of the MC Gives money and have it be for general purposes again, but things like the sound system that you come to one of our programs, you'll be able to tell right away and so forth, and just sort of point out to them how smartly we use the 65,000, let's say, that we get this year, and say, and we want to continue to do that kind of improvements. And provide them with examples, if it's something we can do, you know, on paper or a video on a thumb jump drive, you know, and or make special invitations. And include it in our advertisements that, you know, you're coming to hear a speaker talk about travels to Ireland. And it's going to be really, you're going to notice, if you've been before, how much better our sound system is, thanks to all the donations, again, from people like you. To Monterey, I mean, just sort of thank them in a way of showing them how stuff has been used.
So I'm gonna respond to that, which is number one, we don't send in the application. The application is through the Friends and Foundation.
Well, yeah,
So just to say that whenever we do, we're going to work with the Friends and Foundation, but they're the ultimate decider on what goes through. And also that I think there's over 300 agencies that applied,
yeah,
and they have changeover in the leadership of CFMC. You know, their executive director is retiring, you know, their vice director, I believe, also just left. So they've had a number of changes over there. So I don't think they're looking at it oftentimes like the same way you would a form. Right? If it shows, I think 212 out of those 300 to move forward. So I think whatever we do it within their parameters. So do it like if they say, we want it in this way, but like having some of their attendees like going in there, because I don't know if I think they use the reporting mechanism more as a making sure that you're actually using the money. Partially, you know, they're using it to do that. I don't know if they're reviewing it to saying like, yes, you're actively using it how we want. I think they're just making sure that you are actively spending the money that people have donated to you for that cause. So just to say that we want to make sure that we work also with the Friends and Foundation throughout the process, because it could be something next year where the Friends and Foundation are like, well, you know, we would love to have XYZ. I mean, I gave them a number of different.
I was gonna say, they give it almost like a list to pick from the library staff.
And we've done that
And
before
then
with
the
the fund
Friends.
development team. So we do it with the fund development team, typically is how we've done it in the past. We go through, we have a team that meets, we go through staff, ask staff, what are the large projects we need? They come back and they say, that's not that exciting. Or
Right,
that's,
some of it is marketing, yeah.
Right.
So that you're appealing to the donors.
I'm appealing to a broader base. And I will say there are donors that have called me in the past and said, like, I want to make the decision on what project you put forward. And I've had to tell them, sorry, that's not how it works. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Another question, budget question. Can any of this money be used for staff in any way?
But it's not recurring. Hire
You know, I
somebody
think
and
if you put in there,
Well,
going back to it,
like
I'd have
a
to look at the.
consultant or something.
I'd have
I
to
don't-
look at the things that we do have like some like trust fund budget, because I think they've had some things in the past. I'd have to verify their FAQs,
Okay.
but I think sometimes they've had like typically if you have a project base,
Project oriented, finite.
it's
So
not like,
non-recurring.
Yeah.
right, it's non-recurring. So
Oh,
you're
yeah,
basic,
I know you, yeah.
Yeah.
Have a regular staff.
you don't want to just say
Position
like,
come out
we
of
want to
that, but,
open
yeah.
Monday, extended hours, right?
Yes.
Because that's a ongoing
Yeah.
service is what they're saying. They're looking at something that's I need staffing to digitize,
This
300
collection.
volumes.
Yeah.
That's more along the lines of.
So
what
you could
use
use it for staff then. huh?
You could use it for staff, I believe, if it's very project based.
Yeah, it'd have to be a very special addition to the staff and for a limited amount of time.
Mhm.
And MC Gives really likes to emphasize youth. They specifically look for younger donors, people who learn to be givers in their 30s will always be, but also things that benefit youth. So I think that they probably liked this digital access to ebooks and technology efforts. I'm sure that popped up.
Mhm.
So I think, and with having Melissa and Kim here, I'm checking if there was any additional thoughts you guys had regarding,
projects to fund
or
or,
either that or digital collections, technology, what other kind of things are we?
yeah, I mean, the main thing that's come up for me and staff has been the community room and just upgrading that space. So that's something that I think all staff would agree on, that we want and need.
And I think a good emphasis would be to keep harping on the fact that it's a community room. It's for,
Yeah,
not just for kids or just for adults or anything, but it really, and we could give examples of how it's being well used for a variety of segments of our population.
And aesthetically, it could be much more welcoming if the entrance from the patio, that foyer area is where
and,
stuff gets stacked.
Yes.
If that were a
oh
little,
yeah, that
little
needs to be,
more
yeah.
foo-fooed up.
No, I think those are good. So yeah, I mean, those are kind of, that's my initial thought was just bringing some of this up and just kind of getting it sense for all of the trustees or anybody online, just essentially what kind of projects we are looking for, in this cycle. And but that's what I mean. I think we need to I do think my take is that we prioritize the community room, spec out how much that's going to cost, because that's going to be the priority. And within that funding, that's going to allow us to do.
Yeah.
As you say, it's gonna allow us to do adult programs, it's gonna allow us to do community room use, right? It's going to, and what I was thinking about, like the panels on the side is like the acoustic panels, like right now we have the old wallpaper up on there. It's replacing and updating all of that. So I have ideas on basically doing that and then adding acoustics, because when we added the hard floor, we added, I put in high rated acoustic ceiling, but typically you generally want in community rooms or things like that, you want two soft surfaces of one, if you have one hard. So right now we kind of have two hard surfaces because the one is it's actually just fabric paste glued onto fiberboard. So you want something that's like the two soft allows the room not to reverberate outside. So it's actually
more.
a little bit better acoustic in there if we could have that. And what other equipment that would be helpful for us. I think that's where we get a call. We look at what we could do in there. And I think it would be good.
Yes. To turn do what's called an anechoic chamber. You turn it, make it an anechoic chamber.
Well, I mean, it's more along, when you're in there, I mean, we have those doors and we can probably adjust the doors, but when you're in there, like the noise goes out noise comes in. So you're in the room there, you'll hear that, like the toilet flush.
Oh,
I'm sure
yeah.
people have been in there, doing the program, whoosh.
Yeah.
You hear some of these things in there.
Huh.
So you kind of want to have like a good, you just want some better acoustic in there. So it just, it holds everything inside, and it's better for the users inside because it's not reverberating, it's not bouncing everywhere. When you have the hard surfaces, it's gonna absorb it and contain it a little better for inside and outside.
So if I didn't realize that happened, because I've been in there giving talks and everything, I can't recall ever hearing the toilet flush. But if
Oh,
if you do,
Then it didn't happen.
doesn't that, maybe that, yeah. Maybe they were holding it in until I said goodbye, but doesn't that suggest that there needs to be some kind of acoustic improvement in the bathrooms where the toilets are?
No,
No, it doesn't, to keep the sound in there.
I mean, you're looking at, you want hard surfaces in a restroom. Hard surfaces, and I think we have restroom upgrades in the NCIP project.
Yes.
But I will say soft surfaces in a sterile environment, or like something like, not sterile, but like in an area where you have things that I think that would breed
Right, now that's.
like just like germs all
That's
around.
probably
Oh,
not-
You want to be able to be in there, they want to be in there, just like spray down,
Yeah.
clean down, all of that kind of stuff.
You don't put carpeting in the bathroom.
Yeah, so that's kind of the thing, you want so the soft surfaces goes inside in the community room on the walls and the ceiling.
Okay,
And the reason for the floors, because we have food, we have drinks, we allow people to use the room like that. We use it for that too. That's why we went to hard floors, because we need to be able to clean that off. And having carpet when you're entertaining a lot is also not
Doesn't
ideal.
last very long.
That was part of the switch there.
It sounds like you have your direction.
And
What
what
you-
really will work is to relocate the toilet away, but we can't do that.
Yeah.
mean remodel and relocate the bathroom.
But remodel is-
Good doors.
There's the one.
Maybe let's go to the library.
Okay, is there anything else on that item? Thank you. Great, we will move on to the next update, which is on the shared library catalog.
Thanks too.
Good timing. that
Yeah.
that, just happened.
Yeah, so went through to went to council, and it was in consent. It's been approved by PG's city council, and it's been approved by Carmel as well. So all three jurisdictions are approved, and so right now it's moving into a kind of a DocuSign for that, and it goes through, I believe, all the city managers. So city administrator or city managers, city administrator, I believe, for Carmel, city managers for PG and Monterey. Just to say that in here in the report, you'll see, if you haven't seen it, basically in here, there's the California Library Services Act, which is essentially the California state code, which discusses libraries, public libraries working together. This is also where you have in there about providing free access to library cards. Everyone is gets funding from the state. And then MOBAC, I know Trustee Silvera is very familiar with MOBAC as well.
Yes.
But we're a part of their subset right now, essentially a Pacific Library Partnership of PLP. But right now we've been doing delivery service through their vendor. So they coordinate that, and then we pay it. And as part of it is like they coordinate that through the California Library Services Act, or there's funding through CLSA funds for redistributing materials. That's also where we get additional funding for like ebooks every year, is through these CLSA funds that go through the state funding. But that's just to say that the delivery of the items is the piece where MOBAC, PLP, they coordinate that, because the person come in here, they do the service rather than library staff driving the materials back and forth. So we're coordinating that. And when we expanded to Monday hours, we expanded our access to delivery service to make sure that items were expedited between the sites.
So you don't pay, you don't do it and you don't pay for it.
We pay directly to PLP.
I see. So you
So-
pay for the service, but they take care of everything.
They take care of everything and they just redistribute the costs annually. There was a period of time, Kim and I were alternating doing that between ourselves over at Pacific Grove. Remember for when they.
For certain days, we
Certain
wanted to
days.
expand it, yeah.
When it expanded on like Wednesdays, but I meant like loading up like 4 bins in our cars, driving over to PG and back. And so until when we were able to get the courier service expanded, it's just so much better for all of us and
Well, and it's hands off too. It's nice to have it be a third party, so it isn't one of the partners in this
Mhm.
partnership having to
Yeah.
take on more
So does,
cost or management.
does our cost go up for that when Carmel joins, or they pick up the delta?
So we're gonna, it's all of our going up, but it's going because of the consumer price index. So it's going up
It's
across
going
the
up
board.
anyway.
It's going up across the board. They're gonna increase the rate because the company that the PLP generally works at, they come in, they do all of the MOBAC libraries. So they're going through Santa Cruz and Watsonville, CSUMB pretty much every day,
Mm.
but they just do extra service for us. So they're doing extra service. So instead, what we're doing, we're gonna split the cost 3 ways instead of 2 ways. So it does add additional costs annually, but that's also because they're increasing the CPI, but then we're going to split it 3 ways.
Mhm.
So I think it's going up about $1,000
For the year?
for the year. So it goes from about $5,000 to $6,000. So it's, and I will,
As your share,
CPI.
yeah,
that's your share, the funds.
That's our share.
So.
Yeah, so it's
then they'll
18
pay the same.
they'll pay the same. They'll each pay the same.
Is
Uh,
there a term to the agreement? I mean, what if Carmel says, you know what, this is costing us a lot of money and doesn't really benefit us that much? Or, I mean, is there a trial period or a?
Yeah, I believe it's, when I look at it, I think it was like a 1 year and then with it extensions.
Okay,
With it, if
okay,
it
so,
works,
so it does have, built in.
built in, and if
Make
we
sure
are,
everyone's happy.
if we want to back out, the people can still back out of it. The main thing I think right now is working on some of the internal procedures.
Mhm, yeah.
So we're working on we're working on some of like our internal procedures because
RFID.
well, also loan rules. So loan rules
It's all different,
holds, so
yeah.
like patrons,
Types.
patron types, some of these things. So we're getting all of those figured out and along, we're getting on the path of getting this sort of thing together.
So as the patron app works in the PG library, the Monterey patron app, will it then work in the Carmel library?
Most likely, yes.
Wow.
I believe so. I mean, we just have to, you might have to just load in, we'll have to test it because, yeah, it'll connect to the same Koha database.
I think what you will see, there are a lot of, Carmel Library has a lot of the new bestsellers and
Yes,
everybody
they
likes
do.
that. But it also has an impossible parking problem. So
Mhm.
I know people in Carmel who come here to get their books
Yeah,
because we have a parking lot and Carmel does not. So I think you're gonna see more people coming here.
Yeah, I think the usage, that was one of the things, is I think that our mail and that's where partially, I think it was good to go with the courier, continue with the courier. Because I do see that number of, like, all 3 of our libraries have people that are pretty active in placing bolts. And so I will say that when we open this up, I think Monterey residents are going to be looking at that as like, wait, I don't have to drive and circle around for 20 minutes to try to find a parking spot.
Exactly.
I could just request that.
And many Carmel people also use the sports center.
Yeah,
So that having those lockers there for them,
yeah.
that will be a big win for them.
Does Carmel have a director in place yet?
No, they still have an interim at that point.
I wanted to ask, you mentioned in the report that there are some things that can't be shared in this collaborative deal because if I understand what you wrote, each library has its own contract with, for example, a vendor of electronic subscriptions.
Mhm.
Canopy.
So let's say Carmel Library has a contract with some electronic subscription service. And I'm interested in those items. I can't get them now, but I could if I had a Carmel Library card, right? And you can get a card at all three of these that it says. But how can I see what is in that collection of theirs? Whether I want it or not, to be prompted to go get a Carmel card. Because right now, I mean, I don't know what they have that we don't. I guess is another way of saying it. And until I can figure out what they have that we don't, I don't know what I would want from them that we can't already get.
Well, but the card costs nothing, and as soon as you get the card, then you can find out
So
exactly.
the answer is you get a card whether you end up wanting it or not, because that's the only way to find out what they have.
Call them up and ask them.
Yeah.
Or look on their website.
You're
I
the
mean,
consumer.
Yeah.
on their website.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking because our electronic subscription, I guess it is, for all the magazines. I forgot what it's called now. It used to be called Flipster, but it's changed. And the collection of magazines that are available to us now via a Monterey card, that collection is different from what used to be available.
The big one is Canopy,
Yeah.
which is all the movies
Yeah.
that none of the other libraries have except Carmel.
And
Huge library of old movies and things.
You mean
Carmel.
in the library building? Yeah, like
No, no, no.
No, streaming product.
oh, streaming.
Digital access. You
You
have
stream it on your
to all these
TV.
movies.
so,
So-
yeah, I mean, it's,
The good movies.
yeah, the thing with electronic resources, I mean, you can go to a larger library system that might have 100 to 200 different digital resources, public library.
Yeah,
We have a lot. So we don't highlight, we try to highlight things when we're doing newsletters and talk about things or ask them, how do we get out every single one? We don't. It's just the answer is we don't. It's hard to get them all out there and we spend money on advertisements. We highlight things, we get bookmarks, we do things like that. We pass out things to new users. This is our link. Right now, our patrons, our members, when they get a card, they get a bookmark as a QR code and it takes you to where all of our e-resources are on the page of like what interests you, what do you want? Some people may want Mango Lane books, some people don't. Some people may want periodicals, other people's don't. Some people want historic newspapers, others don't. So it really depends, so some of our things are based, what I mean by this is that it authenticates by your library card. And so and then each one of our library cards has a different, kind of a prefix of a number, a series of numbers which are on there. And yeah, PG does their smaller budget than us, so they have less, but they do have a couple different, PG does have some different things, but like when New York Times went down for a while and then we bought New York Times, other libraries did not. Right, so you needed to authenticate it with your Monterey Public Library card. The main thing is the authentication, because you're going to go through there. So some people will download Libby. Libby, when you download it,
yeah.
you then click where library card are you working. You can look up their work, or it kind of integrates stuff, but you upload all of your different cards. You upload all of your different cards onto one specific app, and when you authenticate it at first, you choose all of your libraries, you upload all of them. But then when you go into a library like Carmel, which because the vendors choose based on their capita size. So if they're going to go in there and they're say, okay, the amount of residents in Carmel by the Sea is 2,500 residents, they're charging them, even though they might have 5,000 to 10,000 cardholders and only 2,500 residents. And a lot of the residents are only part-timers, 40% or so live somewhere else. They're not full-time there. They have a lot of users from outside, Carmel. So what they do, but the vendors are charging on a population basis. So that's where
So they can afford to.
so their charges are a little different than all of them, right? Some other apps are per use, things like that, but they get to make those decisions. And what that means is that we're not saying, okay, Carmel, you want to have this app, and because then we would have to really have a centralized leadership and administration for us to jointly use some of these specific apps. that require that, which we're not doing.
Yeah.
So, but this one is just, will be going forward. And yeah, I don't know, Melissa, do you wanna talk anything on in terms of like,
Yeah, I mean,
process wise and?
yeah, right now I'm meeting, we're kind of setting up recurring weekly meetings with some of the staff at Carmel to talk about all the logistics of, because we need to prepare for training staff is the main thing. Like, how are we going to promote each other's library services without confusing the public? And so that's kind of what we've been working on as we also go through the, like Brian was mentioning, you know, we have different loan periods for different items. We have different patron types. So all that kind of stuff needs to get cleaned up. And there needs to be some consistency amongst the three of us so that we can move forward.
Do they have RFID?
They do. Yeah. So that's good. So
It's just PG.
it's
that
just
doesn't-
PG. Yeah. Yeah. So they do. And so, yeah, that's the main thing that we've been doing. We're setting up weekly meetings so that we can flesh all that out.
So you have to go to those meetings and say, no matter what you do or don't have now, these are the things that we think all three of us ought to have, so we have them in common.
Yeah. As far as like rules, like how we're going to use our system.
Well, and services and how long a book can be checked out for, like.
Yeah.
Thing.
And there's different, I mean, we all have our own version of a library of things. So those are items also that we
Version of a what?
library of things items. So non-traditional
Yeah.
library, you know, materials.
Our telescopes, the
Oh, yeah,
ukuleles,
yeah.
the dolls, some of those things that we actually, the courier, because the courier put everything in the bins. We also don't, we decided when we did the library of things earlier on.
For a while, we had tools, didn't we? Like you find in my garage.
We've talked about it, but we've not had to.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but those, we haven't shared the library of things with
Others, yeah.
with PG, even though,
So that's not reciprocal right now.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just happening right now, processing all that stuff.
But could a PG library card holder come over here and check those things out?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. They just need to return it here as well.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
but using their PG card.
that's something, that would be a discussion.
Okay, that is
something that
up
we
in-
would, yeah,
But ultimately,
That's
if I
kind of
just
it.
wanted a book that was
just a good old book.
not
test.
here,
Yeah.
or at least not available here because Marisha's checked out for another month. I could find it available at the Carmel Library, then it would work the same as now. I would say, I want to check this book out and I want to pick it up at Monterey and they would bring it over, just like PG
Yeah.
does now.
Mhm, for sure. Yeah, books and movies would be the easiest
Yeah,
to start. Yeah.
So do you wait to roll this out until after all of these
Yeah,
kinks are worked
for
out?
sure.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is still.
Right now it's just actually like 4 of us. And then after that, we would need to make sure our staff from all the systems are
Right.
updated. And then updating any of our print materials that have information about loan periods and things like that.
It might be a minute.
And then getting ready to go live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say also, we're making sure that MOBAC, Pacific Library Partnership, that they're aware for 2026, you know, because this is like,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
like early 2026. We need to make sure that that vendor has all of the
Able to add.
bandwidth and everything. So that's where we've been working on that side, which is saying like, let's go through this. And as Melissa's saying also, like, there's also going to be a transition period where Carmel's going to have to upload, you know, onto the shared catalog, right?
Yeah,
Right.
And
that's,
so there's
there's
gonna
that
be,
step too. That's the final
that's kind of the
kind
final
of
step.
step is. And then because once that happens, the public's going to start noticing, you know,
Right.
Carmel items in the catalog. So
So,
we're kind of waiting to do that as we do everything else beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah, getting the rules also, because as you know, with computers don't like uncertainty. They want
Yeah. The
consistent,
real answer.
Yeah.
you know, like
Clarity.
not 3 weeks checkout versus 4 week checkout, not, you know, unlimited renewals versus 3 renewals, right? Like we work out all of
Mhm.
those kinks like Melissa's talking about. Then when you're doing the input and everything like that, it's you're gonna run into a lot less errors when trying to implement everything.
Mhm.
and this is by far the biggest collection and biggest staff of the three, right?
Yeah,
Monterey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, anything else on that? Thank you very much. That's,
Yeah, it's exciting.
it is. Okay, so now we move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything on here that we want to remove?
I had a couple of just informational questions about the state library report.
Then we
Yes.
should pull the item from the
Clar-
consent
clar-
agenda.
Okay,
Okay.
just clarifications.
That's number 4 you're talking about?
Yes,
If, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know that's, no, that's Brian's report. The
So are you doing that, Marcia?
statistical report.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
not the,
Oh, no, no, no,
not the
I'm
statistical
sorry, you're
report, the
right. You're right.
California
It is
State Library Survey Report. I
Yeah.
just had a couple of informational questions I didn't understand.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the
The
resolution.
motion to approve the
approve the
consent agenda, minus the,
Items 3, 5, 6, and 7.
is that what we're pulling, you're pulling?
No, that's
Yeah.
what we're approving.
Oh, you're
We're
approving.
approving.
Okay,
And trustee Morel has asked to remove number 4 and have it be treated as a separate agenda item.
Yeah.
For the purpose of answering or discussing her questions, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
so is that your motion?
Okay, so it hasn't happened yet. I'll move, I'll move that we approve the consent agenda as presented, minus item number 4 for separate discussion.
Second,
Do we go one at a time or just all in favor?
I'll just get a roll, I'll get aye, because we don't have anybody online, so just
Right.
Trustees.
All in
Aye.
favor,
All in
say aye.
favor?
Hi.
Okay, all right.
Nod.
That's not
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Are we still zooming this meeting?
We are zooming the meeting, this is, but there's
Okay.
no
There's
trustees,
nobody there.
no trustees, there's no one attending online, and no trustees
Yeah.
are attending online. If there are trustees attending online, then we have to do a roll call vote. And we'll have to do a roll call per.
Okay, so,
That motion passes, so we
And we all said
can
yes,
go
this is number
to,
4?
yes. So we can go to the questions and comments about item 4.
well, I just had a couple of silly ones. First of all, what are the column headings that say CY and PY? I don't understand.
Current
Yeah.
year and prior.
Oh, prior year. Oh, okay. And then, 2.2 says registered users, 18,000. What is a registered user?
Library card holder.
Oh, but we have far more than 18,000 library card holders, right?
Let me see. I think
I think
that,
so, yeah.
And maybe that's just Monterey people who live here. I
Oh, we're
I just
only
couldn't-
within the
It
city
just
limits?
I don't know. This is page
Mhm.
14.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we've always said that we have more.
Yeah, we have more.
More.
I mean, the last numbers I had
And
seen are,
population.
in fact, if you look at the statistical report, I think that's number of cards is on there. and it's-
Yeah, we'll have to ask David.
David submitted that one.
Yeah, I can ask him.
imagine-
Okay, I'm
Curious
just
too.
curious.
Marcia, packet page 14?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
previous year was around the same, so.
Yeah,
Right.
I just wasn't sure what it
Nobody-
meant.
Nobody caught it last year.
Nobody caught it, yeah.
Because if you're looking at the populations and outlets, I do believe what they're doing, and hold on, let me look at this, because essentially there are. This is where, just a minute.
Maybe that's
Says
all we
library.
have, but I didn't, I
No,
thought it was
it's too-
far more than that.
so. All right. All right, do not, hold on, let me see this.
Marcia, in the statistical report, you said it talks about the number of card holders.
Deliveries.
And wait a minute,
2.2.
2.2 on page 14, packet page 14.
No, I
It says
looked at
registered
that.
users. Oh, I thought, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
you-
thought in the statistical report, but I can't
So
find
this
it.
is,
I can't either.
this is
It's
also,
probably not there.
what I will say on here, the report, because we can ask the specifics. The one from the state is, you have
UNCO.
a number of holders. They want people that have actively used their cards within the 3 years. So we do have a 5-year, currently we have a 5-year
Mm.
um,
Look back.
you have hold of like when your card expires. So these are people, all the numbers on here would have been active within the past 3 years.
And it's the
Alright,
case that
that's
if somebody
very-
has a Monterey card and doesn't use it, then it expires after some number of years,
Right now it's 5 years.
but it can be renewed effortlessly, practically, right?
But if they haven't used it in the last couple of years, then they don't show up
They
in that
drop it.
18,000.
Then they don't show up on that.
The state,
For
the
the state,
state, they only use the 3.
for the state guidelines. So that's why some of these things, these numbers are a little different than what you might see in some of our other reports. Because
Yeah.
they're state specific guidelines for how to.
How to report it is.
Okay, I understand. And so then my next question was, page 17, 7.6.
Packet
So
page
this is
17.
current, yes,
Thank
packet
you.
page 17, item 7.6, do you charge patrons late fines? And you said yes, because this was a report before we eliminated the fines. Is that
Yeah,
correct? Okay,
yes, I think that should be,
yeah, so that's that's
next
reported
year.
that the prior year.
Yeah.
But there was,
Well, and part of this year too, we were charging fines.
right, that's what I
Right,
meant.
this
There
was
that's what I meant.
entered in June or something.
Right,
this one is goes up to fiscal, so it should go up to June
Oh,
30th,
of,
Yeah.
of this year.
right, of 2025.
Yeah, and we just dropped the.
Right after
Right
that.
Around there, yeah.
and then what's kind of odd was in 10.22.
10.22?
So, yeah, and I don't know what packet page is cut off. In fact, packet page 23. It says, do you charge borrowers for late returns of print materials? It sounds like it's the same question. Just it seems weird, and it looks like it wasn't answered.
Right, 10.22 is hours open in a typical week.
Right.
Which one?
10.22.
Yeah.
Holding circulation and expenditure.
Oh, you got different.
You've got to
Oh, that's another page. Yeah, that's this,
It's under, yeah, it's.
it's still there.
Yeah.
I don't know why they have it. It's 10.60 and then it went back.
Yeah, and then it went to.
Oh.
I think that-
There's
Oh,
another
yeah.
10.22 over here, see, I'm not.
Okay.
Oh.
We got two 10.22.
Oh, so
Yeah.
this,
I think that's an
Maybe
error.
that's,
That's an error. This is directly printed from the state report.
Okay.
And if, what they did is last year, they changed the number. They
Mm,
used the Excel sheet and they changed it from there.
No.
They changed it from there to there.
Mm.
So that's what they're. errors on the-
I
on the state
remember
side.
when we were doing some surveys here, we realized that they had made a lot of mistakes on their spreadsheet that nobody ever seemed to notice, which I found it was quite interesting. I think those were really my only questions. Except they asked, so we don't lend out any electronic stuff, right? Because it said, there was a question about laptop loans or.
Only inside. We don't lend them outside of the building.
I got it.
I'll check out outside of the library.
Right.
Do you lend hotspots? No. I will say,
Right in hotspots.
you will see nationally, the majority, those have gone away
Yeah, they're pulling those a lot.
Because-
Libraries are pulling those.
because those were federally funded. The majority of those, there was an E-rate program that provided like a cheaper monthly service for hotspots, cheaper monthly services for some of these things. The federal government pulled that. And so large systems with $1 billion budgets, so like Los Angeles Public Library just stopped their hotspot lending programs. Is there also,
LA Public Library.
I just saw, it was either LA County or LA Public was one of those that they were announcing.
No, there's no money.
There's not the funding that was there for monthly,
And they're so expensive.
So I was at 9.27 and 9.28 on the bookmobile. It's on page 21. With an operating cost of almost 22,000 and circulation of only 10,000 items, it's $2 a book. Or service. What do you know about what that is? Because we're not without cost here, obviously.
yeah, so let me go back to that, you said, so what I will say some of that is they charge what's the number again?
It's on page 21 and it's 9.28, 7 and 28.
Okay,
I must have stepped in.
got it. Yeah. I would say some of that, the city charges us for maintenance of the items, they also charge us for depreciation costs. So they're charging for depreciation of the vehicle. So that's not, I mean, it depends on how you look at it, because the cost also is, I mean, the cost would be even higher if you're looking at the staffing.
I was gonna say, it
I
includes
was
salaries.
assuming that,
Yeah.
that some of that was in there because it seems so high.
Right.
The
Yeah.
depreciation
Yeah.
is probably huge.
Yeah, so it's depreciation of
5-year
looking at
life?
like 10 to
Fuel.
15 years of
Oh.
a vehicle, I believe it is.
Okay.
But the,
That seems unfair since it was a donation, for heaven's sake.
well, yeah, I think, it's, I mean, it's interesting. It's one of those things that like they charge us like, we buy all the monitors, like I just mentioned, like we buy all the computer monitors. And our IT charges us annually for service
Per
device.
per device.
And they don't service it.
Or like the phones, we get a per device charge, but it's an internal service cost, right? So some of these other departments are charging us an internal service cost for items and service and things, not always along with a direct, but I will say also the value, because that's the items checked out, but the bookmobile also, I'd say the value also lies in the store times that we do, the outreach that we do, the public relations, the marketing, the
It's
kind of
intangible.
the intangible, which are on there, because like it's on to, when we go to the welcome new kids into, Monte Vista Elementary, or we go to Bayview Academy, we go to Monterey Bay Charter, and we're going to St. Columbus School. I think some of those, the value, even though it is a high cost per checkout, because the checkout's fairly low, but when you're out there at like La Mesa and you're serving these kids and you're providing them, I think it's a valuable service.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I think having
Yeah.
a bus drive around town, even if it didn't stop and let anybody borrow a book. It's just, it's mobile advertising
Yeah.
and worth it for that. And, there are probably some people that complain about taking up 2 parking places in front of the library occasionally. And I'm just saying to myself, gee whiz, I mean, you look across the street, you look on the other side of the gulch, there's dozens of places to park.
Yeah.
So why are you complaining about, anyhow, that's just me, but I mean, I think it's such a great, and it's much more visible than the old one was, even though it's a smaller vehicle and so,
And it takes
External
up
side.
fewer parking spots too.
yeah.
It takes up fewer parking spots.
Yeah, we were actually able to give the fire department back 2 parking spaces from one vehicle. So we had 2 parking spaces over there. We changed we swapped with
Oh, from over there, yeah.
from over there. Where we park it in front of the library when we're loading it,
Or
and
exiting.
loading and unloading. So when we're changing between stops, we park it there in front to
But
do
the
that.
rest of the time you park it across.
For the rest of the time, we park it.
But you don't need as many spices.
Right, exactly. It's not as wide as it was.
That'll make them happy.
Yeah. But just, as I mentioned, also, one of the things that was missing in here is, where was that on there? Sorry, this is actually something that I'm asking our IT department about as well, but it's about wireless access, number of wireless access, and that's on page 19, which is 7.44. So wireless sessions per year. So one thing that did come in,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm hoping we can get that so that we can add that and
Yeah.
amend that for this.
Yeah.
For here.
Minus one.
It's just
Wireless
because
sessions per year and it says -1.
Yeah.
because it's an error, because it's
Yeah.
an Excel error.
Uh-huh.
Essentially what happened is that when we moved to a new system called Juniper for our Wi-Fi here in the system, and updated the Juniper network because it wasn't working on a lot of newer computers actually weren't working with our older system. And so a lot of devices, especially Mac devices, were not working with our Mac up to our old system. So we upgraded the system. We no longer have access to the statistics that we used to have access to.
Those fell away on this.
Right, and so I've been asking our IT department that I would like, that's why on our board packet monthly statistics, I've mentioned that those numbers have been off.
Yes.
Because I've been asking IT, can you provide a monthly report to us
Yeah,
so that
So that is gettable info?
it is gettable info, but we don't have access to it.
Right.
We don't have access to the portal, so it's a matter of us getting access to the
in other
portal.
words, you gotta light a fire under them to get the state have turned into us.
Right, so that's where I've had that, I do have a request in, a ticket in with our IT department for us to either have that monthly, if they can automate the report and automate a report, just send it to us,
Include you.
or if they manually pull it, but we know we need that data point. So I'll just, that's why I just want to point out that this one right here, 7.44 is an error because we don't have access to it. So
It's
we will.
not hard for them to do because we're not asking them to actually write a report. We're asking them just to transfer some numbers. It could be an email attachment, but you know, I mean,
Yeah,
it could be real easy for them.
but that's just it's just one of the things to put on a calendar, right? It's just a calendar thing of like putting it on there,
Yep.
whether it's manually done or not. But I just want to point that out on that report if you wondered why it was a negative.
Negative.
Because we do get a lot of people using the Wi-Fi
Yeah.
in our system. Yeah.
I just have one question, going back to page 15 on the expenditures. Our
Yeah.
capital expenditures for the current year is very low compared to prior year, and why is that?
Oh, 4.12, that
Yeah,
one.
Yeah.
4.12. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
prior year was when we
Oh.
budgeted for the children's upgrades.
Oh,
So that was when we did the children's shelving.
okay,
And yeah, and so some of this, the 52,000, some of that was like the flooring in the, in the community room.
Okay,
Or
so
it was a mix of like that project was kind of over 2 years,
yeah,
but this is also other projects, but that's why it was, the prior
Okay.
year was higher.
So when you, if I can just follow up on that, when
Yeah.
you said capital expenditures, if it's Friends and Foundation money, it still counts in here, or it's only?
yeah,
Because it comes to the trust fund and.
Yeah.
It still comes to
No
us.
matter what it is, it's how much did you spend, no matter where the
Yeah.
money came from,
Exactly.
even if it was a donation, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Exactly. So if, for example, the Friends were doing things themselves, doing it as a gift, that's different. But when they're giving the money to the library and it's going through the trust, we're reporting our revenue, everything in here, like revenue expenditures includes trust funding
Right.
expenditures.
So in a general, strategy or policy, you wouldn't really want the Friends and Foundation to spend any money independently directly without it coming through the library. Right?
What?
I mean, I don't know that it's ever even been done.
Yeah, I think, I would say, take my notes on. It's what I'll say on that, it's on the city side. It's much better for us to spend the money ourselves on capital expense and all that, because it's our project and we have the liability of, looking into a contract with somebody, if we're doing, like, for example, the flooring contractor, they have a contract with the city versus Friends and Foundation.
Right.
Right, and so that's where it becomes a lot easier, because then
So
if,
you'd never want them to say, buy you a new projector.
I mean, there are times when that might be helpful, because that's not a capital.
Right, yeah,
Right.
you wouldn't want to do it with anything that.
What if it was,
actually in the
It'd be like a gift from the Friends to the library.
right, a gift and things like that, and that's where things like sometimes like, that's, I mean, some libraries, I imagine, do these a little different. Because, our library's operating in terms of the Friends and Foundation funding directly through that. There are libraries out there where performers are paid directly through Friends and Foundation.
mhm,
Right, and so that changes your expenditure, that changes your revenue on that
Right.
side, because they're getting paid directly through them. Or if I used to work in a library years back where our Friends and Foundation would buy this is back when DVDs were extremely popular. Every week, they would buy bags of DVDs, like they would buy like several bags of DVDs themselves. We'd add them into the collection.
Just absorb.
They would absorb, costs would go through the Friends and Foundation. Now that means that, because what that is then this looks at, when they look at us and they go, when the state looks at us and they look at what is your income per capita, your rate, they're looking at, you'll see, that's where we have the, all other operating income on those, but they're looking at local government. They may look at like, what are you getting on there? So hopefully they're looking at those ratios based on local government and not local government and family foundation.
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so we have completed items on the consent agenda and the pulled items, and now we go to public comments. Don't see any.
And as there's any public comment online, I don't see any attendees online, raise your hand. If you're
Okay,
online,
Nobody online?
nobody's online. Besides me.
so we go on to our last item, which is to talk about a an elevator speech for for our advocacy that we would be able to share with staff or friends of the foundation or use ourselves in any interactions with the community to talk about what we do, what we stand for, what we need, how they can be involved, all of that. And we thought that it would be good to draft something and that we could look at next time and maybe come up with some sort of very short spiel. And in your experience, is that generally, I mean, these look like they're pretty well set. In your experience, are these like changed from time to time and updated, or is this supposed to be pretty foundational?
So I mean, like that question, the little card
What are those?
talks about American libraries. That one's been updated. I think the last time might have been, I think that might be 2017, but they have a 2019, and then the Monterey Way, those are from the city managers. And
Okay,
those are,
this is more what we stand for.
yeah, more what we stand for.
Right.
I've seen those pocket cards, you know, and those are examples I gave to Chair Delorme. But I feel like, at least if we have a starting point, and we do have kind of an active goal right now, right? I think it's like.
Well, that's why I was asking, because you would want to update with your current needs
Right,
as well as your basics.
Yes.
and I think that's where, this is something that I think is really helpful for. On the staff side, I've seen them come on when we do strategic planning and, you know, when you do something like that and you say, these are our values, you know, like having a value card or anything like that, and also, yeah. But I feel like those are somewhat just a short term. It could be a year or 2, 3 or so.
Right.
Specifically on what our
Right, you wouldn't
goals are.
want it to become obsolete, and you would want to be general enough that
Yeah.
it generally works.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I don't know where we go from here. I had somebody in mind.
And yeah, and I would just say on this, for the agenda point, the point is not today to create the card,
Right.
right? The point on this is to, let's appoint,
Charge somebody to.
charge somebody,
Yeah.
one of our trustees to work on this, create like a card, right? And then come back and we could discuss that at our next meeting, right?
And I would assume that if we're trying to make up sort of a universal set of points, that no matter who is making a presentation or talking to somebody, they would be saying the same thing,
Yeah.
or having the same script, so to speak.
Consistent.
We would have to consider, well, who's the audience gonna be? Are they gonna be people from the general populace? Are they going to be people connected with businesses that we might want to tap for financial reasons? Are they gonna be other professionals in the field? I think we need to, and maybe that's part of a future discussion, but needs to say, well, because if I'm just, you know, Bob, average citizen, consumer of library programs and services, I may not care about a lot of these things, you know, missions and all that stuff. I might just care how easy it is to get a book and how long can I keep it, and or how crowded do things are. And if I'm talking to somebody who might be a funder, then I'm going to, like NCIP, then I'll say things like, well, hey, did you know 130,000 users came through here last year? I mean, it's on everything. I mean, that's a heck of a lot of people. And just talking about how much the library is a core entity in our community, when you look at a number like that. I mean, there are only 29,000 people in the city of Monterey in total, but 130,000 users. Now, surely those are some people who came in more than once, like everybody here probably. But it also means that there are, word community is beyond the borderline of the city of Monterey. Because I was talking to a person recently whose family, including her, have lived in Seaside for a long time. But she attended Monterey High School and graduated from Monterey High School. And I imagine along the way probably used the Monterey Library. So the nature in this regard, I think, of what community refers to is much bigger than either the populace or the physical boundaries of the city of Monterey. And I mean, I just think whatever goes on this, it's not actually a script, but it's kind of a part of background information that anybody, staff, trustee, or whoever would want to be
Right,
able
that
to
you cherry pick
express. It would be the same,
depending on
no
your.
matter who it is. Whether it's staff member Kim or trustee Moreau, whoever would have the same, stuff to start with, and would give similar answers to questions that whoever they're talking to might ask.
I think I like the idea of having targeted things, what appeals to one group may not.
Oh, there'll be overlap, I hope, but there'll be some things you're absolutely right, that the average citizen will be interested in knowing about, but they're not interested in some of the other stuff. And it might be age related. I mean,
Absolutely,
currently the super elders, a lot of them still,
they're on
don't
books.
use the computer. And so talking about, hey, how many laptops we have or something like that. So who gives a damn if I were one of them? But if we're talking to younger parents of little kids, then it would be important to talk about, the programs and what types they are and how often
And I don't know that that's what this is. I don't think I don't know that there would be much of anything real specific. You wouldn't want anything that changes in 6 months or.
Right.
'Cause
no, but
that's
if we
not the
update it
job.
annually, then there'd be things that might be.
But I don't think that's the job of what.
Yeah. So you can
we're
have one
trying to do.
sentence for it, we have children's programs, we have this, we have that.
Right.
And we
You
have
don't have to go
20
into
of them or something like
Yeah.
that,
We have story time, we have.
ranging in appropriateness for different age groups.
Right.
I mean, the teen programs, they have a whole teen librarian separate from whatever librarian is in charge for the 3-year-olds.
So what else would we need to,
You see this one?
to charge this person with? For information on what, I mean, does it?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Wouldn't this be better to have 2 people, maybe? Than one person just taking it on by themselves, it might be.
Well, supposedly it's
or
gonna be
Brian-
discussed by the
Brian
whole
is the
board.
second person, huh?
Right.
I think I could be like a
Yeah, you have to be.
content
Bouncer.
editor, I think I could be,
Help designing.
some of that, like if there's,
And stuff too.
we could, Melissa or I could be people that, if the board.
Right, because you actually do this all
Well,
day.
And how about the Friends and Foundation, who are the ones who are recommending, maybe somebody from.
Right, to get some input.
I will say, I think one of the things that would be good for this is to be slightly different from the Friends and Foundation, because you need to have something that says somebody comes in there, same way with, whatever. I want to donate to the library. How do I do that? And then on that card here, just like, okay, go to library giving at monterey.org, and that goes emails to us, or donate to invested at, info at investedinpl.org, right? And that kind of piece right there, because the role of appointed, elected, officials for the city, like you are still appointed you're
Mhm.
still appointed by council, for this city, right? And that's where I think the Friends and Foundation should be that fundraising arm, and doing that core work of basically going to those donors and saying, can you provide
Independently.
and then independently. But the role of the board is saying, are you aware that we have a 501c3 that raised X number of dollars that does these programs and these kind of things? And that's kind of, I think, some of the core, to me, that's what I see it on there. It's like, that's the target point, because then it doesn't get you in a gray area.
So who answers the question when the donor says, what do you need money for? That's what this is supposed to be. I mean,
Oh, part of it would be just educating them about it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think part of that, I mean, that's also, I mean, it depends on that donor, and that's for something I talked with Friends and Foundation about, and I talked with Julia, who's her assistant on there, is that I find that as like a point of like, why don't we set up time for coffee? Because that's not something that really just like off the cuff, you know what I mean? Like to say like, we don't always know right off the bat what's going to be there, because you might talk to that person, and a lot of times you talk to donors like that, those donors actually have something in their mind that they're really tapped into.
Right,
Some donors are really tapped into youth and
right. So you sit
education.
down to coffee and
Summer
start talking
reading,
about
yeah.
something way out in left field that they're not a bit interested in.
Right.
They just
You'll
say,
lose them.
if I went to some people and I say, I want to digitize all this content, some people are gonna be like, I don't care about that, right? I'm like,
Right.
that's not what our values and visions are. So
Right.
that's where I think like the creating that was so the links I have on here too are just kind of from the American Library Association, because there's a bunch of different packets and informations, trainings and things that they have on there. But I agree that I think it's like, figuring out who's the audience, figuring out what exactly would it be, whether it be a fold out card or just like a two-side, like what format and how much do we want to put on there? Do you want to put on there for people like library events? Everyone gets a library card, like some of these things, like there's also library information, so that it's like.
You talk about something we would hand to the audience in a way?
I see,
Mostly it's just your little cheat sheet.
Yeah. It's for the
Not so
presenter
much-
or whatever you want to.
but it's something for you to have there. I mean, by the QR code, like you have your smartphone and somebody comes to you and says like, I don't know what library provides for electronic resources. You have that on there, you can scan that with your phone. It's gonna pop up to that list of all of the resources, right? I'm just saying like, that's a possibility. I'm not saying it's mandatory, but I'm saying like, what kind of questions might show up from people about what does your library card provide?
Right,
And
provides you access to Pacific Grove and Carmel
yeah,
Library.
so all of those kind of pieces on there.
Yeah.
So I think we only, I don't know what your thoughts on the 2-member or 1-member.
Well, I do think that we could do this with, I mean, if somebody wants to partner up, that's fine, but I think it really only needs one person if we're going to just start with a draft. We're not approving anything or finalizing anything. There will have to be some collaboration and saying, okay, well, we missed this, or that's superfluous, or read it.
Did you have your recommendation?
I do. I was wondering if Janie might take this on. You're a writer.
I used to be a writer.
Yeah,
and
you are. You're still a writer.
I'm better at it, better as an editor, but yeah, I could do it. But I didn't want it
Well, and when
by
you,
next month.
if you figure how, that it really is bullet points and very, there's really not a lot, and which is not to say that it isn't important or going to take time and thought, but it isn't a thesis.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, actually, those cards almost are outlines. And so we just want to hit all the bullet points of how we would represent ourselves in the community or with potential donors, or
Okay.
we seem to be, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. We seem to be all about facilities, it's an ongoing thing that, well, last year, the focus was on getting open on Mondays. And, you know, so when you think of advocacy, it is what you want for the future. So that would be included, not just what we do, but what we seek to do.
And did you want this in the, do we want to present the draft in January or February? What would be the timeline for?
I don't know.
Well, I think, since I think we have discussed over and over again, whether we put it in minutes or anything, kind of like what we think is important, and we sort of agree that there are some things that the average citizenry would be interested in knowing about, and others, potential donors would be, but it'll vary. So maybe that implies a way of organizing these important points of information. So that, let's say one of us was meeting with a little neighborhood group, we would be able to sort of anticipate and plan ahead, and like you say, use the proper or most effective portions of our cheat sheet. I think, I mean, in our agenda packet, it says we need to develop an overarching message that any and all trustees can bring to meetings or discuss in the community. Trustees and the library director will work on a calendar of meetings. I don't know about that last part, but I do, I think saying it's a cheat, whether it's a trustee or a staff member or a volunteer or anybody could use without fear of misrepresenting the library or saying the wrong thing, kind of thing.
Right.
And if we're going to talk about it at the next meeting, which is what, a month and a half from now, at the end, it's toward the end of January, then, whatever, if Janie accepts this request, whatever she brings and in whatever form is fine, because we're going to talk about it and
Right.
not wordsmith it to death, but, talk about how it should be organized. And I would suggest that maybe each of us before our meeting in January, think about, well, if I were in Janie's shoes, what would I think was important? And, what categories of organizational headings, if you will. And so we come prepared to take what Janie presents and, just slightly massage it, and then, because this could be a tool in progress. I mean, like when one tool that you have wears out or becomes
Right. We're
not as
targeting stuff.
not as good at doing something, then you get another tool, or you modify it, or you buy an extension for it, And I think we could treat this that way, so that it's an active part of the trustees' behavior, what we do.
I just want to point out that you actually did this, the goals of the advisory in this exercise with NCIP,
Right.
that we identified it, we got a message, people went to every meeting, they were very consistent, every single meeting, we had, lines of people, and we don't know if it's going to be successful or not. I don't know when they tell us whether they're going to give us the money.
January.
But the strategy,
Well, they vote.
the strategy that was laid out here is exactly
What page is that
exactly
on,
what
Marcia?
you coordinated, what we did.
What page is that on that you're
It's
hitting with?
31, the goals of the board.
No, what page, packet page is it?
31.
31, thank you.
So did you have a cheat sheet kind of thing then?
Well, kind
To
of,
talk about?
Diane sent out emails to everybody, and you talk about this and you talk about that.
From.
I mean, people, you gave a general outline, you talk about this and you talk about that, and.
Well, it says right here, just as an example of something that may change, it says, it would include the goals that board advocacy would deal with are needs of MPL that require funding.
Right.
Well, as things get funded and we don't need,
Cross them off.
that would change,
That's
right?
when we update it.
If we needed new tables and chairs and now we got new tables and chairs, that piece of the cheat sheet would be different. I think.
Well, or you could be general and say, you know, upgrade furniture as necessary or something like that. So even when you get new tables and chairs, maybe there's another part of the
yeah, but-
library that needs new couches or whatever, you know. So if you make it general enough, you don't have to keep crossing things off and adding them on like your Costco shopping list, but you could have sort of general things. But I'm just saying that you kind of modeled the strategy already and it looked like it was gonna work. Looked
Yeah.
like we were wearing them down.
They roll their eyes, so you.
No,
yeah.
in the library, and every meeting, there was one or two people and then 7 people from the library, you know,
Yeah,
children and grown-ups and.
One thing that
staff, but-
impressed me at the last meeting is that there were people that weren't one of us
Exactly.
who got up and said real positive things about the library needs support.
Yep,
And even some of the reps.
and it was
So,
pretty
yeah.
consistent, you know, but in that case.
Yeah.
You had already identified it in the proposal what you wanted.
And
so
we
could
did
talk
have
to
steps.
those specific things, but as the methodology worked, it seems like it's sound, let's put it that way.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
well, if you have something like that, that you can send me,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
because I've been off the advocacy wagon for a little while.
right. Well, we have, you're right that it is a month and a half before we meet, but,
So
But-
even if Janie doesn't even, I'm just asking you, even if you don't feel like you're done with what you've been, what you volunteered to do, I think it would be good to bring your progress, kind of like a progress report. Could be,
and then we'll see where we are.
this is the final, or you could say, well, I'm part done, or whatever.
A, B, and C. This is how I've laid out this one, and this is
Yeah.
how I've structured this one, and which message, which
Well,
format do you like?
Marcia's referred to it as a draft, and that's how you deal with
Yeah.
drafts, so.
Perfect. Test drive it. See who gets their checkbook out. All right. Well, thank you. Yes, and there are resources here. So now I guess we would move to
Trustee comments.
trustee comments first.
There's no one online. There's no speakers in the room and there are no speakers online.
Okay. Anybody with comments?
I just wanted to say that Canterbury Road Days, I thought was lovely. I really did. I mean, it was a beautiful job and everybody, I think people really appreciate it. And I think a lot of people read that book and talked about it. It was a really good thing. And, we already talked about the NCIP advocacy, but hopefully we wore enough people down that they'll turn around
And when will they be meeting about that for their
Next
voting?
Wednesday is when they vote.
Really?
Well, they had a meeting last night, right?
That was for the second pass and
That's what
the
I thought,
second
M
half.
through Z.
Right,
something like
right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
so
mean, it
that
was a repeat of what, when we were
The
there,
same, yeah, we were the
But it
first
was the
half.
second
for the same
yeah,
purpose.
Last night. was-
other,
Yeah.
and then
So-
they're voting a week from, no, next Wednesday,
On next Wednesday, the
week from
17th.
yesterday. Yeah,
So are you planning to get a
Definitely.
group of people
Yeah.
there?
but are they just gonna do their voting scheme, however they've organized it this year? Or,
I don't know.
or is it gonna be advocates for the different, like, library
I have no idea.
opportunity
Never
to stand
been
up
to
and
one.
talk? We don't know.
Don't know.
It's a public
Yeah.
agenda item, so it should be, it's agendized
Right.
item.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there should be a
yes,
moment for comment.
So yeah, and then it isn't till sometime in January when they present their recommendations to council. They vote themselves, but then they have to take it to council and, because that's who.
So they won't be even presenting it. The results of next Wednesday will be a secret until they present it to the council in
I think
January.
it'll be a secret,
Oh.
but yeah, they just
It's a
have to be
public meeting.
formally put to them,
Public
Um,
meeting.
for them to.
Yeah, they formalized their discussion in January. So last night they were discussing the January calendar. So the January meeting is when they formally vote. Those things still go.
They
to-
meaning the council at this point.
No,
Oh.
NCIP.
In
NCIP.
January?
January. They are then gonna be going back, they're gonna go, they formalize their opinions, they actually the discussion of what they vote on still will go to Parks and Rec Commission. They're still gonna go to, I think, this planning or historic preservation.
Yeah,
Those are on the calendar there of the of NCIP. And then I believe it gets formally adopted typically in April by council.
Right, because they can't even take it to them until they know that everything they voted for is viable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where it is. So it's basically January is the meeting where they review what they voted on next week. So that's where there's multiple steps. There's still multiple steps forward. There's still multiple steps that they were discussing regarding defunding past projects and, you know, all of that. So that's still gonna get there.
Yeah,
So
where
we feel
where
really
does
good
that
about it.
stand about the defunding or the freezing or whatever they're calling it? They're putting off discussion of that till another time.
They're-
Or they have,
They left the current year alone because
Yes.
it was already on the table and they
Yeah.
asked for some defunding of old projects that hadn't moved forward.
And a certain dollar amount. So they're asking for different.
but they have not figured out what those are yet, or they?
No.
Okay.
No, but they found it was $4.5 million, I think, is what
it had been
They-
approved and had not
they
been
were giving
used.
back to the city.
Do you have any idea of how many years ago that portions of that has been sitting?
No.
They had a big old list.
Yeah.
There's a full chart. If you go on the NCIP page, you can look up all of the different projects that are outstanding.
On the website?
Yeah.
Any
City
website?
website, NCIP. You could look up all of the different
They had it
projects,
by date,
funding
yeah.
all of that
Yeah.
by date.
Yeah, there are just as many old projects as there are new proposals.
Well, yeah, I was constant, when I was on, and with, back then it was called NIP, not NCIP, but I was just constantly amazed at even some projects that got overwhelming support from the NIP committee and approval and recommendation and all that stuff just sat dormant as if that was it. I mean, and
Well,
it was
something-
very frustrating to see the inadequacy of the government at work.
Well, there was some obstacle sometimes, you know, where they recommended something that couldn't be done for whatever reason.
Right, when lay people.
I mean,
May have been some of it.
Something.
all the speed bumps, when the city has a policy that there's no speed bumps to be put in, so they vote speed bumps,
Oh,
and then the
right,
city
yeah.
says, well, we're not doing speed
We don't
bumps.
do
then
that.
We don't do speed bumps. And then there's the money sitting there, that kind of thing.
So back to trustee comments.
Sorry,
now.
I'm done.
Anybody, okay. Anybody else?
No, be safe over the holidays. Don't get sick. Don't.
Very good. Director comments.
Just there are a couple of things. Earlier today, had the tile map installed outside of the city manager's office, the map that.
The one that came down from the
that came
bottom.
down. So that we have a replacement map. It's beautiful, right on there. Really happy to see that done. The Frog and Toad are visiting the library, 19th and 20th. And we're very excited for that. The 20th will have photos with Frog and Toad and a couple of activities. And so Frog and Toad have been in and out of the library a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we're still trending towards January for our lockers. We're working on all of that. So those items are, some of the things we're looking for, and yeah. That's all I've got.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody, and happy holidays, and the meeting is adjourned.